Hello, everyone,
Hello,
And
it's
welcome back. Yay.
to this.
Nightmare.
to here.
Today. Today we're talking about Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984, directed by Wes Craven. Also, the director of Scream and The Hills Have Eyes, which is later on in our list.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't know
Yes,
that either.
I actually made sure to have do a little research on this one this time. I think that it. Another fun fact is that this is Johnny Depp's first feature film.
I was shook
Really?
when
Yes.
he was in it. He's in that movie the whole time, and I knew he was in it from the credits, but he looked nothing like Johnny Depp. Yeah.
I feel like it takes a certain amount of confidence to bring in an actor and say introducing.
Yeah.
They're gonna be big. That's
Mhm.
interesting.
I like this one. It didn't grab me a whole lot in general, but as a whole, I thought it was well made. I thought the script did a very good job building tension. I was very impressed with how it went from she's just having nightmares to very clear, well defined stakes at the end. I thought the characters of all the kids were pretty well written. I was very thrown off by the last scene, literally the very last scene of the movie. I was really tracking until then, and I guess that scene is probably more just for shock value than anything else. But yeah, as a whole, I think I liked it.
This is probably the horror franchise I'm most interested to see in how it progressed. Mainly just because I want to know what the setup is for Nightmare 2. If this was just a weird bit at the end, or whether this is canonical. But anyway, really enjoyed it. So this is my second time seeing Nightmare. I was not a fan my first time watching it at all. I was pretty disappointed by it. But for whatever reason, this time I really enjoyed it. I think there's some pretty fun, creative elements for how they try to approach attacking Freddy. And there's some really cool effects. It still didn't really scare me or anything, but I definitely enjoyed it. I enjoyed the characters. I really picked up on a vibe this watch through that made me feel as though it's handling the ideas of how a generation thinks they've solved a problem and will refuse to listen to a next generation when they say that problem still exists. Because it seemed like just adults are being stupid at first.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so continual and so persistent and so prevalent throughout the entire film that a younger generation is trying to tell adults that this is a serious issue, that no, the thing you thought you fixed has not been fixed. And it has manifested itself in a new way, in a way you can't even begin to expect. And those parents refuse to believe it because it feels as though the efforts and the bad things that they did to make that thing happen would have been for naught, because it still exists and it's still terrorizing the generation they wanted to protect by doing these things.
It definitely does portray a failure of the means justifying the end.
Yeah.
The parents did this thing and just brushed it under the rug, thinking it would take care of it, and they were like, it's our kids, we're going to do whatever it takes to take care of our kids. So they kill this guy and move on. And it definitely portrays how when you go about things that way, it doesn't always mean you're actually solving the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, the two biggest standouts to me in this whole movie were Freddy, of course, is a standout. I see why he became something you could latch on to as with a franchise. Also, some of the kills were pretty interesting. I mean, the bed where they built a set upside down. You could tell
That
see
was
more
very cool. Yeah.
But I still love seeing so much thought and creativity put into scenes. The main one that got me was the bed where it started exploding from the.
Oh,
yeah,
that was amazing.
The scene you see and you're like, wow, this is really cool. I'm in it for this.
Yeah.
That's something that stood out to me a lot more this time, actually. It's just how creative some of the kills are and how fun and out there and bizarre they are. when I first saw it, I didn't think I was going to watch it again, and I'm glad we've been watching it in this list because now I can definitely see this being something I come back to, if not every Halloween, at least every few Halloweens, coming back and watching it because I do think of it as a Halloween classic now.
Yeah. It does along the lines of scenes like that, like the kill scenes and stuff. It does a great job of blurring the line about when characters are dreaming and what it's portraying in real life.
Mm-hmm.
Because like that scene with the bed seems like a dream sequence to just have this bizarre scene with like blood shooting out of the bed and more blood that could ever be in one single person and defying gravity and all this. But then that scene turns out to be part of the actual reality and all that. It does a very good job keeping you on your toes.
The biggest complaint that I could like take away from this whole movie would have to be the ending. There are alternate endings where they try to end it multiple different ways, where they just both drive away and then they have the little girls singing.
Bye! Bye, Mom!
They cut to a shot of Freddy driving the car. It looks like they didn't know how to end the movie. And it just looks bad, too. Like, especially when the mom's being pulled through the window. You can tell it's like a blow-up doll that they pull in.
What gets me about that ending scene is that the scene right before that sets up a perfectly fine ending.
Yeah.
Like, they establish clear stakes about Freddy and the rules of the dream world, and she defeats him in a pretty clear, obvious way, and then walks through this door, and then she's just somewhere else. and it makes absolute no sense because it already set up a very good and clear ending. So they knew how to end it because they ended it in the scene before, and the last scene just felt superfluous.
What it ends up feeling like is like producers are like, yes, I feel like this is going to be a bankable movie. We should change that ending so that there's like a possibility of, hey, Freddy's probably going to come back. So,
yeah.
I don't know.
And on that note, truthfully, I wonder how much of like a sign of the times it is where so many movies in that era were doing that anyway, where, oh, well, you can't really kill this monster, you know? I mean,
True.
God knows, Halloween has been beaten to death 100 different times, where you know, the character seems to have been defeated beyond all possible means, and then there has to be some teaser for them still existing. I can't, there's very few horror movies I can think of in which the characters just, especially franchise horror movies, where in a singular movie the character's just defeated and there's not some tease of them coming back. So like that doesn't justify it, but at the same time, I don't think this was like a unique mistake.
It's like not even a tease though. Like it's just they kill him in one scene and then he's grabbing the mom through a window in the next scene.
My first watch through, I would not have given it another chance, probably, and I would have just said that it wasn't for me, but I can definitely see going back to it now. I see a lot of fun, creative things that it did now. I see a lot of fun performances, and it's definitely made a more memorable impact on me than it did the first time, so I definitely recommend. I would say this is one of the stronger classic Halloween movies I've seen, and it'll be interesting to see how that changes for the others as we work through this list, but yeah, I think it's a fun time. I think you'll have a fun time if you go see it.
Yeah, I this was my first time watching it, so I'm really glad I did get a chance to see it since it is a classic. I definitely saw why it was a classic. Lots of great things about it. Like I said, I didn't love it, but at the same time, it did, going off what Michael said, it did make me interested to see what the series of movies are after this. I would definitely recommend it.
As far as like writing and stuff, it's definitely like that hits that 80s itch of like, oh, if you want to see what a classic 80s slasher movie is like, this is probably one of the better ones because that's why it's classic. It's very fun. It's a very fun watch, and there's a lot to take away from it. I don't think it's a perfect movie because sometimes it can be laughably bad, especially the acting and the writing with the particular like preacher during a funeral scene.
His life and his death attest to the scripture's warning that he who lives by the sword shall die by the sword. But let us recall also our Lord's admonition that we judge not, lest we be judged. And may Rod Lane rest in peace.
Just a reminder to all, those who live by the sword, die by the sword. But who am I to judge? Who are any of us to judge?
Nightmare on Elm Street.
But yeah, I would say that wraps up our review of yeah, woo. Third review,
Make sure
we did it.
to like and subscribe.
Oh yes,
Comment
please.
too.
Oh
Comment,
yes, please.
share.
Turns out I'm the only subscriber so far, so yeah, as of recording this.